So if I understand it correctly, you're saying that someone who wants to be able to work on open source as part of their paid job, they need to learn corporate and business language to talk about open source.
Unfortunately, you need to see it less of a project and see it more of a product. Companies like to hear product. They don't like to hear project. Project feels very weird to them. They want to see product because with products they can justify a lot of things. It's one of the things I learned over the years. But yeah, it's weird. And I think the same thing goes, right? Because even in open source, we've used the term project a lot. And companies are now like, okay, why exactly are we giving money to the Django community, or whatever community? And then you realize that, oh, okay, this is what you depend on. So, and the way this open source maintainers, they don't really spend a lot of time marketing stuff because they believe that if you care about the code, you care about the code. They don't need to tell you why the code runs 5 times faster than the previous version. It's not an Apple keynote, you know. It's like those are kind of the concept. But unfortunately, I think given the way money is these days, I'm not sure if it's the right thing to do. But I've often seen it to be a little bit more sustainable if you speak corporate language. And I think depending on your experience and your ability to be as relatable as possible, makes it much flexible. Not the best approach, but flexible.
Do you have an example, like even without mentioning names, where you like convinced someone to do a particular investment or
Yeah. I mean, all my companies, I can't mention directly, but all the companies I worked with, yeah, I'm always like, so for example, like the last the couple companies I've worked with before, our entire marketing strategy changed and they went into open source because they realized that, to sell enterprise software, why CTOs and engineering managers are your typical persona to chase. If developers don't care about your tool, the CTO would not buy it. It's the other way around. Like developers come in and say, "Hey, I love this tool. I think we should get it." Not the CTO say, "Oh, you know what? We have this tool. Do you want to use it?" Like, it's like very timid. So, and it's kind of the Google strategy too, because Google used the GDG program, like the Google Developers Program, as a way to get into the mind of engineers as early as possible. So when they go into like corporate world, becoming a CTO, engineering manager, whatever, it's very natural for them to say, "Oh, use Google," because they were using Google when they were younger. So there's still some element of like letting someone learn how to build something with your tool, because naturally that makes them more relatable. Hence why things like GitHub is gonna be GitHub, regardless of the fact that GitHub is innovating open source. But it was fundamentally designed to for the developers compared to the way GitLab was structured. I always tell my friends the reason why GitHub is different is because one chose to be community and developers focused. You know, why the ironic is that one is open source and one is not. So, so again, just depending on how you look at it. So I think when they got that message, they were able to change their marketing strategy, and it worked. It worked for them. It worked. It took some time. Then they started having some unrealistic expectations, and then I left.